All right. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for being here. And for those who are guests, thanks for joining us. Um, Even if no one shows up, this is being recorded and this is going to go on our YouTube so that we can then share your experience and your endorsements, good and bad, of Offsite. And I actually have a list of questions here. Uh, so pretend like I'm someone who's interested in Offsite, and then I'm going to let you guys answer those questions. It needs to come from the students, because that's what potential students are looking for. They're looking for reassurance, just like everyone in this room was in this position 13 weeks ago or 14 weeks ago. So not too long ago, you all kind of went through this experience of should I do this or should I not? And you took the plunge, and hopefully um, you are better for it. So we're very excited for everyone to be here. We're going to get started. I have a list of questions, and for those who are joining us who are potential students, are interested, are curious on what is Offsite, we have a plethora of students who are based all around the world, who can answer all your burning questions. So first question that I have here, and after I ask the question, I'll kind of open it and anyone can answer, any of the Offsite students can answer. First question is, I'm a working professional. Can I do Offsite as I work a full-time job?
Yeah, I can answer that. Yeah, I'm a working professional as well, so it's definitely doable. I think you just have to have the mindset of you have to dedicate some time specifically for offsite, and all the students and the instructors are very supportive. So you can do it at your own time, and you can always go back to the recordings. Yeah, so it's definitely doable. Just need to plan ahead.
That's a very good answer. And to piggyback off of that answer, I think even though Offsite is a 12-week program, and when you start the program, it is very rapid fire. We give you a bunch of information, a lot of content. Um, that doesn't mean that you cannot, or that doesn't mean that you have to do the program, um, minute by minute. Like you can do it at your own pace, right? I think there's this misconception that you have to keep up with everyone else, and you really don't. The live sessions are recorded. We have an amazing community on Slack. You paired up with a mentor. And I think, like Cheng said, I think the idea here is staying connected and communicating with your classmates so that you're staying in the know and you're making sure that you are not falling behind. But you can definitely do this at your own pace if you really wanted to, right?
Yeah, I want to add something to that. Actually, I got some job offers like during the course at, I don't know, maybe week 6. And yeah, so it was like a big change because I wanted to dedicate all my time to Offsite. But then I thought like, well, you have the recordings, you can always ask to the cohort in the Slack, and you can actually make a schedule according to your times. Actually, I'm planning to catch up with some of the homework or the assignments, and maybe some of the classes also. And I think it's pretty doable.
Yeah, I would add that all of the timelines, everything is kind of on a recommended basis. So the instructors are giving you assignments, but everything is kind of what you can do when you can do it. There are suggested deadlines, but all of that is just to help you move along. And the difference is you can attend the live classes, but you can also watch the recordings, and you still have access to that after completing the course, which is very different compared to a college environment where if you're not there in the class, you've missed it, it's over, you have to catch up. So you can kind of do this as asynchronously as you want. And I think probably all of us, there's material that we did not cover as in depth as we would have liked to, just because there is so much material being shared and covered. And we can still go back to that and learn from that after the fact. So you kind of get to pick and choose what you want to focus on during the time. So I would just say if you have more conflicts and less time while you're taking the course, it's just up to you to decide what you want to focus on. Are you trying to get into the community aspect of it? Like that's what I would suggest if you had less time, was to focus on the people and the interactions and attending as many of the live classes as possible. And then maybe some of the personal work and the homework and things that you can develop on your own time. Maybe you save that for afterwards. It's just all prioritization.
Yeah, I would also add that I talked to some of the professors and they said, it's okay to miss this week if you have to. Just make sure you do assignments on week 5, 7, and 9, because those are going to be really important for my course and for your development.
They will tell you, which is nice. You can ask them. Almost all of them have, assignments that are more important and assignments that are less important. And if you tell them, hey, I only have X amount of time, they will say, okay, well, I think you should spend your time on these 2 or 3 things because these are going to be really valuable for you to cover. And I want you to be able to get feedback on these from me while you have access.
Yeah, I would say like the main benefit to doing the assignments in offsite is getting the feedback from professors. And so if you do it asynchronously, there is that loss that you're not able to get that immediate feedback. And so something I did, so I was working before this, and I actually approached my design manager and explained to him what offsite was, and specifically tried to highlight like how offsite was going to benefit our consultancy. And then from that point, he was very willing to let me drop my hours during offsite. So I was only doing 10 hours at work every week. And that ended up working out great for me. So something people can consider is, this is something that's going to push your career forward. So sometimes your work will be flexible because of that.
Do you remember what some of those reasons you gave to them were, TJ, in terms of the benefits that they might see on the other side?
To be honest, I didn't know what those benefits were at the time. So a lot of it was just very broad, like this is going to make me a better designer. This is going to make us a better team. But in retrospect, I guess some of the things that I would highlight are that, it's made me faster at my work. I'm able to crank things out at probably double the speed as before. It's also made our collaboration a lot more effective because I know better tools now that I'm introducing to our team that allow us to work together better. And just like the overall quality of my work is better too. So those are things you can talk about.
If you are a working professional, there's actually, I think the value proposition that you can propose to your company that they can actually cover your costs is actually, immenseful. I think you can, like TJ, you can propose to your job, hey, I want to do this program. It's going to benefit both parties. And this is why, right? It's going to help me grow as a designer, and therefore it's going to be beneficial and efficient for you as an employer who, I'm part of the team. So there's been a lot of designers that actually has done that in the first cohort and then this cohort as well. So it's a very good story, TJ. Any other comments as far as working professional and then doing offsite? If not, we can move forward.
I'd like to add, Hector. So speaking from people from India, we had like a few students from India who were working professionals and they were also doing offsite. I would say it's not, so since the time zone is completely different, you're technically working 24 hours if you're doing offsite, if you are giving time to each and every live class. So the way you plan it out is that after your office or whenever your office gets over, as I think all of you mentioned, focus on one skill or like 2-3 skills which you really want to sharpen and focus on those classes so that even later, once you're done with the live classes, you can always fall back on the YouTube playlist, which are recordings, which you can always look at, because it can be quite exhausting, but that doesn't mean you don't have to do, as TJ mentioned, I think on Discord, a little bit of offsite is better than no offsite. So I would totally agree to that. And look at this as a process. Like you look at your own design process and look at the loopholes you find in your design process and try filling in those gaps with all the resources which Offsite is providing you. And trust me, they are much more than what you will get in a university environment. Especially the mentorship program. I don't think, I mean, while I have had mentors, I don't think I've gotten such detailed feedback and review sessions, as well as just an insight of how the industry works. So you plan your schedule out, but just because you're in different time zones, you might fear that how will I finish offsite at night and go to my job in the day. It's manageable as long as you plan it out well. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for answering that and for your input on that. Really appreciate it. So the next question is actually one that we get asked a lot. The question is, I'm not based in the US. Can I still do offsite? And I think I would have to say that maybe 40% of our students are not based in the US. And that's a huge percentage compared to the first cohort. What would you guys say?
Yeah, I'm based in the UK, so we are 6 hours ahead of the US. So basically, for my work's demand, I have to skip certain classes. So for the visualization class and the manufacturing, I have to completely skip. But the good thing about offsite is that they're all recorded, as people said before, and so you can always go back to them. And if you have questions, you can always select your instructors or classmates. It's a very willing to help you, and the materials are all on the Google Drive, so it's very ready for you to go back to.
Yeah, same for me as well. I lived in the UK, and so basically what I did is for the first half of the cohort, I actually shifted my time schedule just to fit in, to get in line with class. So I was like maybe waking up like at 3 or 4 in the afternoon and then just sleep at 3 or 4 in the morning to cope with that. But then in the middle, I got this internship, so I have to shift my time schedules around again. And again, like I will miss some classes, but I can always get back to the recordings and just to catch up with everything during the weekend. So yeah, just trying to be flexible, I'd say. And that's my approach to it.
And the nice thing is you have the Slack. So if you're behind or you're not exactly sure what's going on and you're trying to catch up with something, you have everyone available. You can ask questions. People will almost always give feedback. I know a lot of people who are completing assignments after the due date would drop them in the Slack into our studio channel and everyone would give them feedback there. So there's multiple ways to get feedback and communicate with people, which is nice.
I think one of the reasons of doing offsite, just regardless of if you're in US or not, is this the classroom is so diverse. There are people from so many different cultures. It's a great exposure to knowing about people who come from different countries, different regions across the world, and what do they bring along as industrial designers. And there's a lot to learn, especially I feel like when we are in a university environment, we are too focused on what we learn in our own immediate universities. I think Offsite did give us an exposure of what the culture is in the US, in the UK, as we had students from all over, as well as from Philippines and everywhere. So I think that's one of the reasons you should do Offsite, because I don't think it's very easy in this pandemic situation to get that kind of an experience, which is so global. That's one of the reasons you should be doing Offsite if you're not from the US.
Yeah, I would agree with Shrishti. So I'm from Canada, and I would say that again, what's great about Offsite is that it is all online. So you do have the opportunity to collaborate with people all over the world, understand different perspectives. I think just one of the hardest thing would be working with like time zones and such, but it's definitely fully available to be global.
Which is something that is really hard to do in a traditional academic setting because of the logistics behind all of that with visas and the amount of the cost of going to school. Something like this is just very hard to accomplish physically. So you are, in that sense, you're pretty privileged if you're part of the offsite community because you have exposure to designers from 10 different time zones. And at the end of the day, you're investing into this program. You're investing in the 12 weeks that you're part of offsite. So yeah, you might have to change your sleeping schedule, like some of these students who have sacrificed and compromised a little bit. But I can tell you that it's 100% worth it. Because what if for once in your life, for 12 weeks, you just like go all in and you make small changes, and this can totally change your trajectory. What if, right? It's a small sacrifice that you got to do for the immense rewards that you'll get in return. And I promise you that. And obviously, like, this is just what you're seeing here with these students. This is just a fraction of students who are behind what we're doing. But yeah, thanks for answering that question. Another question that came in, which was kind of answered here in the chat, and I'm going to kind of reiterate it so we can talk about it. The level of commitment for offsite. And I think that kind of also goes with some of the things, if you're not in the US, can I still do offsite? But let's dive into that level of commitment. I think we kind of covered it a little bit. Like, you can go 150 miles per hour in offsite, or you can kind of go 50 miles per hour in offsite and still be, in a very good position to succeed. What do you guys think?
I think there really is no upper limit. There's so much material. I don't think we saw anyone who, like, you could work as hard as you want and probably still have things that you wanted to get done that you didn't have time to achieve. There's so much fantastic information. So I think that shouldn't be a concern. Like, whatever you want to get out of this, you're going to get out of it and more. But that shouldn't put pressure on you to try to bite off more than you can chew, because once you're in, and you're going to have access to this material and these people.
Wyatt, I like what you said. When I look back on what the time commitment was going to look like, I didn't have anything going on, so not a job or really anything else, and I thought that I was going to commit all of myself to offsite, and by all means I did. But the 14 hours to 16 hours of instruction and office hours it was a lot. Like,
it's a lot of Zoom.
Let's be real, it was a lot. And it was so incredible because each instructor is a working professional themselves, and the amount of dedication that they give not only to their own professional practice, but also to this offsite cohort has been, like, kind of unreal, like kind of incredible. And so when I look back on all of the time that I spent, it has just been remarkable seeing the commitment that all of our classmates had to just improving. Like we're here because we care so much about we care about our mutual improvement, and we respect the instruction, and it is so different than anything else that as much time as you can give, you will get something from it. There are people who didn't have much time or not nearly as much time as I did, but there's such a community and so much value gained from this experience that it's sort of hard to talk about. It's sort of this like mysterious thing that exists. It's like, what is this thing? How would this work? It's really been a joy. So what you can put in, you really get out.
Yeah, everyone is there because they want to be there, including the instructors, which I think is pretty rare
Yes.
for an academic setting. Like,
Yeah.
Everyone is super invested and wants to see everyone else succeed, and the instructors like genuinely care about your improvement and will talk to you.
Will talk to you. Wow, what a remarkable thing. But yeah, it's been incredible.
I feel like that was a really motivating factor, is doing the work so you could get that feedback. We're in a situation where, you know, different schools are different. Usually sometimes you don't get the feedback that you want to hear, but people genuinely gave good feedback and want to see you succeed. So that was kind of a driving factor of like, okay, I got to get this done because I want to get feedback on it. Again, you can always post it in the Slack and get feedback from there, but doing like the live critiques and getting that like live feedback is really beneficial and kind of unusual.
I would say that like, if I had to compare it to traditional education gives you a prescriptive path that you have to follow to get to success. Offsite gives you a compass, actually helps you like construct your own compass, and then sets you off in the wilderness. And so when it comes to like the level of effort or, you know, amount of work that you want to do, it's really been different for all of us. And so I think everybody's kind of taken divergent paths at different points. I know for me, like at one point, my mentor helped me identify a side project that was going to be more beneficial for me. And so I took a week off of traditional homework to do that. And so that's what's great, is it gives you direction, but doesn't like prescribe your path.
Very well said. I think one thing, when I was going through school, and this is going to age the crap out of me, but when I was going through school, the one of the obstacles that I encountered and that I was very frustrated with, and it made me really exhausted as a student, was the constant competitiveness of my classmates. Always had to compete with them. I always had to hide secrets. If I found a cool Photoshop a shortcut or on Keyshot or whatever, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to tell any of my classmates. It was very competitive. As everyone here is sharing their kind of thoughts on Offsite, I'd love to hear, what is it like to be a part of a group of 60 students? Do you still get that competitive edge, or is it different? What's your experience? And for those who haven't talked, I would love to hear your thoughts. There's a lot of you in here, so please speak up.
Yeah, I think that there's no competition at all. We are all trying to get better, and we're watching what everyone is doing and trying to help everyone to do the same in your own way, to keep the same kind of level, but in your own way and at what you want to do. So it was really good to be a part of this community, and the community is real. That was the thing that shocked me a lot. It's not like an Instagram place where you only see images. You are talking with real people who struggle with the same thing that you are struggling, and we are all trying to work it out together.
I still remember this time where I had like a doubt in like 3D software, SolidWorks, and I remember TJ was like, took time after class and kind of told us, let's go to the studio, and he kind of like explained the entire thing. And it was pretty great of an experience where you don't only learn from the teachers, you also learn from the other students. So it kind of like, as Hector said, it's not about hiding things, it's about sharing, because you learn by teaching. As one of our other teachers who says, he says, teach it to somebody else and you will learn better. Spencer uses this line a lot after his sessions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's healthy and unhealthy competition. And to me, the healthy competition is where everyone is working to improve and working together to improve. So you see someone doing something awesome and you want to know how they did it, and they show you. And then the next time, like, it reciprocates. The next time someone else does something, they're like, hey guys, I built this like shader. I created this sweet material in Keyshot. Here's the file. And then maybe someone will bring that to the next class and give it to Tyler. And then Tyler can talk about how it was constructed. And so it's kind of becomes this like collective knowledge sharing that everyone is benefiting from, because each and every one of us has a completely different background and different assets and skill sets. And it's tremendously useful.
Yeah, one thing I find it wonderful is that whenever you're sharing anything or you're asking for any question, you can always get feedback. It's like positive, constructive feedback. And I find that like just wonderful. And yeah, like Wyatt said, it's healthy competition and like just helping each other out. Yeah.
My fondest memories of Offsite and what this experience has been, have been the constructive criticism, the critique. It's how can we be better? We're all committed to being better. We all want to be better industrial designers. And I think that commitment that we all make to one another, our instructors and also our classmates, is what makes Offsite so incredible. Like it's been reiterated over and over, like we learn so much from our peers because we all bring something different. And I really have like truly cherished how invested we are in one another and our successes and how much we grow, right? We grow together. It has been, yeah, it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty cool watching us all get a lot better together.
I think one of my favorite things. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say one of my favorite things was getting to know everyone and what their strengths were, and then realizing where those filled in weaknesses of my own and starting to go to them to ask them questions when I knew they would probably have an answer to an issue that I was having.
The competition for me, oh, it's gonna be cheesy, but the competition for me was with myself. There's like the few weeks they would be like, send us your current portfolio. And then like at the 11 weeks or so, you would see how you're doing and you would see how different it is. And you're like, yeah, I did so much better now. Also, you go into Offsite and each and everyone has their own thing that they want to be to improve on. So everyone's a little bit different and everyone has their own skill sets. And again, yeah, you can go to the Slack and just like direct message people and you're like, hey, can you help me with this electronics or something? And it's so nice that they could just like reply to you, and it's just a community actually.
Yeah, I would say that it was kind of like the first 2 weeks when you get into it, you're kind of just trying to gauge where you lie in terms of your classmates and just trying to like figure out, like what's my skill set compared to everyone else. And then you kind of get over it and just kind of like start focusing on your own progress. And then you just like start looking to teachers and other students' work and, copying ideas. And it's just kind of like a big library of resources.
I think adding to what Hugo said, the best part about the whole experience is that the material you're receiving is constantly being updated. So when you come into the next cohort, you will have a better experience every time a new cohort actually comes into Offsite, because the experienced team, the instructors, everybody, Hector, are like really dedicated. They are taking constant feedback from us after every other session or course, and experienced team is always reachable. So it is for sure, it's like promise that the next time you enter Offsite, you'll have a better experience than what they're delivering at this point, which is great because quite often, like there's no black and white rule over here that this is how you do design, this is how you don't do design. You're learning from experiences of the faculties. When Michael in his classes talks about different things in the industry through his stories, it's much easier to remember than you learning from a book about business. Similarly, Kat, Dom, everybody, like I think the whole team is so dedicated to provide you material which is real time. It's not outdated and it's constantly being updated.
Yeah, I am just kind of hearing everyone answer and share their thoughts. I'm a little overwhelmed. And honestly, if I was a student in today's age, I would be a little insecure because things are different. When I was a student, industrial design was really tiny. You needed to be really good in like 3 or 4 skills: sketching, CAD, prototyping. Like it was like you needed to be like above and beyond in those very specific skills. Research. Industrial design in 2021 is like, extremely right now everyone wants an industrial designer, and everyone can be, or everyone could have 10, 20 different skill sets, and it'll make them a well-rounded designer. So everyone who comes to Offsite comes with those different skill sets. And there's room to coexist, not only in this community, but there's room to coexist in industry. I think there's a job for everyone. As competitive as it is, there's an opportunity for everyone out there, now more than ever, especially with how things changed in 2007 after the smartphone revolution happened and everyone needed a designer. So you guys right now are living in the golden age, the new golden age of this new industrial design wave, and you're taking advantage of it. So everyone should be very, very proud of yourself. Are there any questions from the audience? If you have any questions, write them in the chat. I'd be more than happy to ask them, or come forward and ask.
Hey guys, so I'm Matt. I'm from the UK. I'm considering applying. I don't know what I expected from this session, but it wasn't the community aspect. So that's amazing to hear. It really sounds like a lovely group you've got here. I was wondering kind of 2 things. One, the structure of how classes work, if they run concurrently or at the same time, and how the kind of format for submissions works. And then if anyone has any insights into what they think they did very well during the application process, that would be really interesting to hear. So thanks.
I can go first, I guess. So there were a few classes that all run at the same time, and they lay it out for you on Google Calendar, so you can like check in and out. I would say that some classes, so we had like a sketching course and a product visualization course that were kind of a lot of work in the first half of the program, and then things started picking up for other classes in the second half. So you really have kind of like intense areas that are distributed throughout, so you're not just like slammed with work for all 6 courses.
Yeah, so there's 6 classes. I believe the next cohort is actually going to have 7 classes, and they're all scheduled out for you. So the classes, you have all the Zoom links to the live classes that are really easy to access through Slack. So that's where a lot of that organization goes. They give you presentations, which are then uploaded to a Google Drive later. So you have access to the slide decks after the fact to revisit all that information, as well as being able to watch the recorded lectures on a private YouTube channel. And then all of your assignments are put in Google Drive. Everyone gets assignment folders. Each class has broken out week by week assignment folders and things for you to put submissions. Each professor has their own nomenclature and file labeling system you can use, so everything stays organized. And we even use the Google Drive to leave comments. So if people drop files in there, people can give comments on other people's work in the Google Drive, but then also in Slack. None of the classes actually overlap time bracket wise. So you might have things back to back, but you're never going to have 2 classes happening at the same time.
And trying to take an answer for the second question. It is always hard to know what you did right to get accepted, right? So even in school, and I don't think there's like yeah, I did this and it was great. But it might sound cheesy, but it's always like trying to be honest and sincere about what you are trying to offer to the cohort and what you want to get from the course. Because Wyatt actually asked to all the professors like what they were looking for, right? And they all had different answers. So it's not about trying to give the right answer, like, oh, as I was little, I played with Legos, or I always wanted to know how things work. No, it's just like trying to be sincere about what your profile is, what your vibes are, and what you really want to do as a professional entering this field.
Stay tuned for my blog
Totally
post
agree
about how to
with
get into
that.
Offsite.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sorry, Wyatt, you can go if you want.
No, my bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just highlighted things that I needed to work on, basically gave a portfolio that showcased what I was good at, just like a good description of what I wanted to work on during my time at Offsite, sorry.
I would just say make sure to answer all the questions genuinely. And if they ask you to, write a couple paragraphs, write a couple paragraphs. I know Dom said if you didn't fill out everything, and you didn't write a couple paragraphs, you wrote a couple sentences, he counts that as not following instructions. So probably not a good look.
Any other questions or insights? The great thing about Offsite is just how many layers of Offsite. It's almost like an onion, right? So you have Offsite, the actual support team, which is myself, you have Bitwell, you have Tiffany and Bethany. And then you have an experienced team. And that team is, I think, 4 designers. And their job is to sit in the classes, be a fly in the wall. They're more like researchers. They're like design researchers. And their job is to communicate with the students, ask them how things are going. And if you have concerns as a student, voice your concerns. Their job is to bring that information back to us, and then we implement it so that your experience with Offsite is better. It just gets better as we get through the 12 weeks, because we know that we are not perfect, and we know that Offsite is a program that grows and evolves with your help in real time. And we take your considerations or your concerns into consideration, and we want to implement them as fast as possible. And then we have the instructors, and the instructors are there to not only teach you and get you ready for industry, or get you ready for whatever your goal is, but they're there to meet with you during office hours on one-on-one if they have to. And then you have your mentors. So you're paired up with a professional, an industry professional, and they're there to actually guide you and help you and support you. And lastly, you have the Offsite community, which is not only alumni from the fall cohort. For those who are incoming, you'll have access to these students who are part of the spring cohort. And everyone is there, and it's great. There's game nights, there's studio nights. So like I said, it's like one big onion of layers of just support after support after support. So it's fantastic what we all built together, because there's no way that when we started planning Offsite, there's no way that we knew this was going to happen. So let's see, any other questions here? Everyone is being very chatty and active here in the chat room. How can someone take advantage of the program? This is a question that was asked in the chat. It's a great question. What's one thing you wish you knew when you began? So yeah, let's kind of put it out there.
For me, probably it was like trying to know better about the amount of work, because everyone tells you like you're going to get what you invest, and well, obviously you want to do everything, because if you invest everything, you're going to get everything, right? But you just have to be sure about your capabilities, and be honest about like you also have a life. So you do have to consider that, okay, there could be a lot of work, and probably you are not going to be able to invest 100% or like the extra 10. But even though if you don't at the established schedule, you will get there, as you said, Hector. Like you don't have to be on date like during the whole course. You can always came back and catch up. That's something I wish I knew, because I learned it like through week 7. I was like, okay, this is too much for me right now. But then you do understand that it's not wrong if you don't follow the program as it is established.
Yeah, echoing that, I would say something I wish I had done more of earlier on in the cohort was just make time to socialize with the rest of the group and just spend time with people. I think there's plenty of work. There's so much work. You can spend all the time in the world working on the skills and working on the class things, but the relationships that you build within this 12 weeks with these people are going to take you so far. And so finding ways to maximize the amount of time and interactions that you can have with the instructors, with the other students, make sure to make that time, even if it feels like it's taking time away from work that you could be doing. I think it's a worthy trade-off.
I would agree. I think oh, sorry.
There you go.
I was gonna say, I agree. I think at the beginning, it's kind of intimidating to kind of like put yourself out there with other people. And I know even like for my personality, it takes me a while. So near like kind of the end of the cohort, I kind of like built more of those relationships. However, I feel like if I messaged anybody from this cohort and like asked them a question in a month, a year time, they would for sure reply and again give me that feedback or anything that I would ask. Like again, those relationships I think are just the strongest.
Yeah, I think the amount of time and effort that you put into offsite is how much you get it back. So yeah, because if you do the work and you show it to others, you can definitely get good feedbacks from them, and you can learn from them as well. One thing that I wish I would know before offsite, I would say, is perhaps to start thinking about which direction or what sort of career path you wish to take, because I think 2 weeks into offsite, you will start connect with your mentors. And I think that's a very good opportunity for you to learn from the mentors, as well as learning from their experience. Because I was paired with a mentor who shared a similar work experience as I do. And I find that really helpful because I can relate to his career path very well. And yeah, so I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, the experience team, you fill out a survey at the beginning of offsite to kind of tell the experience team what kind of career trajectory you're aiming for, or like where you want to work. And then they give you a mentor that almost always is from some amazing studio or company in exactly the place that you were like trying to target. So that is going to be your chance to connect with someone in industry who might be doing exactly what you're trying to do. So if you know what that is going in, it will only help them find a better fit for you and make a super valuable connection.
I think all mentors also, like most of them in the first few interactions, they try and make you set your goals with the mentorship also, of what you are trying to achieve and how can they give in their 100%, and in fact more than 100% to those sessions. And I mean, you can always go to them with your work in offsite or some other work, or just advice on your career or some whatever you plan post offsite. So they will definitely ask you to set some targets. So that at least should be in a way, you should be in a way achieving those towards the end of mentorship program. And the good thing about mentorship is that it's not something which you lose touch with once offsite is over. If you and your mentor are comfortable, you can take that relationship beyond offsite also, and keep meeting. Like, you can just make them mentor for you regardless of you being in offsite or not, which is a great opportunity to have somebody from the industry who, you know, actually is mentoring you.
So just to clarify and be transparent, cohort number 2, which is labeled as of right now leveling up, that cohort, you actually are paired up with a industry designer as a mentor. For cohort number 1, unfortunately, you're not paired up with a mentor. The reason why we're pairing you up with a mentor in cohort number 2 is because you're in a position to actually you know, go into industry and get guidance on how to do that. For cohort number 1, that's more of a foundational cohort, and we're going to teach you how to, you know, dive into industrial design with these introductory courses. So I don't think a mentor would really, you know, help you in that sense, at least not in that phase of your development. So cohort number 2 is where you'll get this mentorship, advantage for sure. Shifting to other questions, I'm going to go a little rogue here. I would love to hear from everyone now that you've completed the 12 weeks of offsite. What was your experience like? And if you would have to share it in 1 sentence or 2 sentences, what is your overall experience?
Positive. No, I was thinking, as someone who was working during offsite, my expectation going into it, like with what I would learn, I think I was focusing a lot on hard skills, but I think personally, I don't want to say I didn't learn hard skills, but I think I learned a ton from just how to use my skills more effectively. And that was probably my biggest takeaway from offsite. Like in Kelly's class, we focused on sketching, but not necessarily how to physically sketch, but how to use different types of sketching to communicate. So yeah, I don't know, that's my biggest learning, I think.
Yeah, similar to Eric, I came into offsite thinking that I was going to get things that I lacked, and instead I'm coming out having discovered what was already inside and just grown that even more. So
yeah, it's much more about using the skills that you already have, at least for what's going to be cohort 2. It's the strategy and the why and how to use the skills that you have in the way that the industry does and is looking for you to use them. So I think a lot of people graduate from a college with a ton of hard skills, skills with programs, skills with sketching, skills with modeling, and they have those skills, but the reason for having them and what you do with them, most people couldn't answer that question. And I think Offsite helps us understand what the objective of all of those skills is within the industry of design. And that's just it's a huge leap. It's a perspective shift. So that would be my number 1, and my number 2 would just be the relationships, the connections that you make here. It's kind of like going to school all over again. When I was in school, we had a studio with about 60 people, which is big for an industrial design program. But, you know, by the end of 4 years, you know all those people really well and you rely on them. And Offsite's kind of similar, just way accelerated.
When I think about what I got out of Offsite, before joining, I didn't know what I had to offer. I would go into interviews or portfolio reviews or applications blind to my own skill, to my own value. I didn't know who I was, what I wanted to share, or how I could share that with someone. I didn't know how to tell someone why my skill set was valuable. Leaving Offsite, I do.
Yeah, before Offsite, I was feeling lost within the direction I wanted to take in my career as a professional, and Offsite was like an oasis that showed me a lot of things, and now I could find my own direction within my career. So it was really nice. And what Wyatt said about the connections, that's really good.
Yeah, it's like looking into your inner self. I mean, Eugene, you're not the only one who's lost. I was miserable before as well, because like being a COVID graduate and then just not knowing where to go after graduation. Yeah, it can be tough. But then like Offsite shows me like how I can find clarity with everything, especially for Spencer's class. It's very helpful to just to look back at how far you got, and yeah, just trying to reach into yourself and just think, keep thinking and thinking.
It's 12 weeks of therapy you didn't even know you needed.
I think one learning that I'm taking back from Offsite is that usually design is not meant to happen alone in your room. It's meant to happen in a community of people who have so much value to add you and your work. That I think is something which, because it was a healthy competition here. I think that particular factor was really fostered here. And I think I'm really taking back this particular learning of how to co-create, collaborate, while also giving each other equal value, and at the same time really leveling up and being a lot more confident as an industrial designer. That's something which has been really impactful for personally me, because as Jack said, I didn't know what I had to offer. I was really underconfident. I wasn't using my skills in a very strategic manner. And after Offsite, I definitely can claim I'll be a lot more confident now when I actually go out in the industry.
The great thing, as we're going to wrap this up very soon, I think the last thing about Offsite that everyone here forgets to talk about is, even though the 12 weeks have concluded, your relationship with our program is actually about to begin. And so this is a lifetime investment that you're making, not only in yourself, but with this group of people, with us. Because at the end of the day, this symbiotic relationship that we build, we can't exist without you. Actually, as we speak, I am helping, I think, 4 students from the fall cohort strategize how to, apply for jobs and how to take that next, step into industry. So like I said, we're always working, whether it be the first cohort or this past one or any future. Our job and our service is to you, the student, and this is the reason why we've built a student-centered design program. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap things up. For those who joined us, thank you so much for being here. If you look at the chat and how explosive that chat was, it just gives you an insight of just community and how everyone is willing to help. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. I'm the one who's answering your emails. I'd be more than happy to, answer any concerns you might have. And then this recorded session, we'll put it up on YouTube so that it's live and you're able to reference it in case you missed it. Offsite students, thank you so much for your time as always. And if you are here and you want to know more about our community, there's one more opportunity for you to be a part of our community. This Friday, we have our commencement ceremony. That's an hour long. You'll hear from our instructors, you hear from a couple of our students, and then you hear from our guest designers who will talk about why Offsite is so awesome. So join us. That's tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is Chicago time. And you can find that information on our website, and it's all over. It's plastered all over social media. Other than that, thank you so much, everyone. Have a fantastic Thursday. See you all tomorrow. Take care.